All right, GEOshow is now live. Explorers, are you ready?
Yeah!
Let's do it. Welcome, 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 all explorers. You are now watching the GEOshow, and the title of today's GEOshow is Mexican Culture, a look at Central Mexico. Today's all-free virtual field trip is brought to you by flatclass.club. Teachers, are you looking for new and innovative ways to tear down your classroom walls and bring the world into your classroom? Well, check out the Flat Class podcast over at flatclass.club. Today is an interactive show, so that means if you're not one of our on-camera participants, you can send in your questions or comments via the Q&A option on your Zoom window right now, or if you like to roam around your classroom, teachers, you can use Twitter. So just use the hashtag GEOshow over on Twitter. I am only following the hashtag, so please don't send your questions to my handle or I will not see them during the show. Again, we also have a live Kahoot quiz during our show today. And pay attention, explorers, because you have an opportunity to win a postcard from me, your host, GOB. So put on your good listening ears today, because you will hear all the answers that you'll find on that quiz at the end of the show. GEOshow is a geography-based show. That means location matters. So let's find out, where are we going today on today's virtual field trip? Well, as the title of our show gives it away, we are headed to Mexico. So where is Mexico? Mexico is just south of the United States, a very large country, and we're going to visit two locations today, or two areas. So we're going to visit Mexico City, which is the capital city, and we're also going to visit Oaxaca. So Oaxaca is located in the state of Oaxaca. Yes, you heard that correctly, explorers. I said a state. So Mexico has states, just like the United States. It's the United States of Mexico. We're going to visit right here in the central region, Mexico City, and down in the state of Oaxaca. So all of our content that you're going to see today comes from one of these two locations. But everyone, before we get started, look how massive the country is. Mexico is a very, very, very large country. So before we even start today, I want to go ahead and tell everyone, keep in mind, whatever I share with you today is only coming from two small areas within a very large country. It's like if I went to New York and Los Angeles, and I can't possibly say that the entire country does everything the same way in the United States. I'm from North Carolina. We do things very differently in North Carolina than they do in Los Angeles. All right, so think about that when we talk about Mexico today. It's a very, very big country. So we're just focusing on the central region of Mexico today and the culture that we experience there. All right, so I would like to go ahead and introduce our on-camera classroom, our on-camera guests today. So we have Mrs. Richardson's first graders from Albany, New York in the USA. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi!
All right, and do you happen to have a fun fact about Mexico today?
Yes.
Would you like to share it with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, who's going to share it? Come up to the camera for us. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Tiana. Hi, my name is Tiana.
Hello.
Did you know Mexico has 4 different types of land?
4 different types of land? Really? Do you know the different types? What are they? Can you tell us?
Mountains, deserts, rainforests, and beaches.
Awesome. So all different. Yeah?
They also have volcanoes.
Oh, they also do have volcanoes. Right. So Mexico is located on the Ring of Fire. If you've ever been on our volcano virtual field trip, you know what the Ring of Fire is. So yeah, so they have lots of volcanoes as well. Many different landforms, and that's going to play a part in some of our topics we're going to talk about today, especially in the artwork. So where does their art come from? Does it come from the desert or the rainforest? And it's going to be different kinds of art depending on where it comes from. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with today's virtual field trip. And hopefully everyone watched that pre-show video. And if you did, you know that we have three main players in central Mexico, the foundations of the culture. So we have the people that were already here, the Native Americans, and the specific people that were in central Mexico were called the Aztecs. And so we're going to start off our virtual field trip today and learn a little bit about one of the Aztecs' great temples. So we're going to start off today with a virtual tour of the Great Temple. So the Great Temple was located in today's Mexico City. Now, it used to be called something else, which I'll let you know in just one second. So when we look at Mexico City today, so this is just a standard Google map, looks like any other city, right? There's roads, streets, we see green areas, which are parks or mountains over here. And Mexico City is a very big country. It's larger than New York City. So there's almost 9 million people in Mexico City, and it's very high in elevation. So it's over 7,000 feet high in elevation. But it looks much different today than it used to before the Spanish came here. So 500 years ago, Mexico City, most of it was a lake. So there's a small island that was in the middle of the lake, and that was a city, the capital city of the Aztec people, and it was called Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan. And the Spaniards drained the lake. So when the Spanish came, they conquered the Aztecs, they drained the lake, and they built Mexico City on top of this lake bed. And because of that, much of the city is actually sinking by a couple inches. And right in the middle was at Tenochtitlan, built on an island in the lake. And we're going to look at, this is a computer model of the religious pyramids and temples that were in the center of Tenochtitlan, so the capital city of the Aztec people. So we're going to zoom into Mexico City today. This is current day Mexico City. And right in the center of the older part of the city, we're going to look at a couple of things. One, this is called the Metropolitan Cathedral. So it's a Catholic church today. But right here to the right of it, I'll shade it in for you so you can see it really nicely. This is an archaeological site. So the Spanish tore down all the temples of the Aztecs and they built on top of them. So the entire city was built on top of that old model that I just showed you. And much of those pyramids, people forgot about them. Remember, this was 500 years ago. But just within the last 100 years or so, some of these temples have been rediscovered. So, and because of that, they started digging it up and collecting artifacts for museums. And let's zoom into that archaeological site. All right, so this is what it looks like today. It just kind of looks like a big old construction site, doesn't it? Well, what it is, let me get my drawing tool back out. But this was once a very large pyramid. And in fact, this was called the Great Temple. This was the main religious temple of the Aztec people. Now, why does it look like layers? Well, over time, the Aztecs, they first built a small pyramid. And when they got more powerful and more wealth, they built a larger pyramid on top of it. And they kept building it bigger and bigger and bigger before the Spanish came. But when the Spanish came, again, they knocked it down. So they tore the Great Pyramid down and built the city on top of it, current day Mexico City on top of the Aztec pyramids. So this is the Metropolitan Cathedral that we see here in Mexico City. There's two parts. There's the newer part of the Metropolitan Cathedral, and then there's the older Metropolitan Cathedral. And we'll look at why they had to build a new one. Well, as I just said, the Spanish, they knocked down those pyramids and they built this cathedral right on top of those pyramids. So if we look back at our model that we had up from before, there we go. This red circle is where the cathedral is built on top of today. And this is that site. It looked like that construction site that I showed you. The Great Temple was knocked down, and we can only see the bottom part of it today. So that's what we're going to walk through. We're going to look and explore the bottom part of that temple. But first, let's look at that cathedral again, because there's something that's kind of really interesting to look at. Does everyone see the foundation? So the foundation is of a building is what the building is built on top of. So it's the main, the bottom layer of a building. So everyone look at that foundation as I pan across and see if you notice anything wrong about this building. Do you guys notice anything weird over there in Albany? Do you guys notice anything?
What's happening?
Look at the foundation here, and then look at it over to the right. Does anyone see a difference? Here, maybe I can draw it. Maybe it will help you see. Is it getting bigger or smaller? It's getting smaller, right? Great eyes, explorers. It's getting smaller. So what it is, it's actually sinking into the ground because it's built on top of other old buildings. Now let's walk inside of that old cathedral. Now everyone look right down the center of this aisle. So I'll go back and I'll draw a line down the center of that aisle for you. So we're inside, we're gonna go inside the old cathedral. As we pan up towards the altar, look right down the center of the aisle, and I want you to follow your eyes along this blue line. And as we go up towards the cross, and then higher and higher and higher, does anyone notice, is anything off center? Does anyone notice anything?
Anything that's off-centered? What do you guys think?
What do you guys think? Did anyone see that?
The chandelier.
The chandelier, great guess, or great observation, not a guess there. It is the chandelier. So everyone see how the chandelier is falling to the right?
Yeah.
Well, the reason it's doing that is because the chandelier is anchored right into the center of the ceiling. So it's acting like a pendulum. If you guys know what a pendulum is, it's kind of like if you hold a yo-yo down, if you just let a yo-yo drop from your hand, it usually hangs straight down, right? Well, because this building is falling or sinking into the right, it actually, the chandelier is off center now because the whole building is off center. So that's kind of unique. You can see that today when you go in the old cathedral. So how big was the Great Temple? The Great Temple was about 148 feet high, at least the last version of it. And so that would have made it right around probably this high or so when we look at it compared to the current day temple or current day cathedral. And this is a model of the Great Temple. So we can see it's a pyramid, but on the front side, there are two main staircases that go up to the top. And on this model, they cut to the inside. So remember I told you they built a small temple to begin with, and over the years, they kept building pyramids that were bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's what we're gonna see. We're gonna go through each one of these layers as we walk through it. So this is the site. So those layers that I've been talking about the whole time, so these are the layers. So this was the newest building out here, the newest layer. And as we walk in to the middle, we're going to see the older temples, older parts of the temple as we go through the site. So let's walk down in there. So we're on top of a building, so let's go on the ground level. So here we are on the ground. And first thing we're gonna notice is we learned from our class that there are different landforms. And if you remember, one of the landforms in Mexico is deserts. And Mexico City is a high desert. It's a valley in the mountains, but it's very dry. And so we get to see there's a agave plant here. And as we go along, so it's very tall. That plant is about 6 feet tall, very, very large. Up here on the left, we're actually going to see another type of desert plant. Does anyone know what this is? All right, it's a cactus. All right. And as we go ahead and let's look back over so you can see where we're at. We're down in that dig site right now. Over here, this is that cathedral that we were just in. The chandelier that we just looked at is over here in this building. So that's where we are right now. And let's keep going deeper and deeper into the dig sites. So the first thing we're going to do is there's different kinds of statues, animal statues that they put out front. So you have to use your imagination, explorers, because remember, they knocked this down. So use your imagination. So if this is a very high pyramid right now, this is the front steps of it. And up front in the steps, these are two statues of two frogs. And the frogs were important to the Aztecs because when the rainy season was coming, when the rains came, the frogs come out. When the frogs come out, it meant it was a sign that rain was coming. And rain is a good thing when you're planting food. All right, some other statues of animals that we see. You may have noticed them already, but here is a serpent. And this serpent is about 20 feet long. So serpent's another name for a snake. And if we look at the head, this is some of the original red paint that was on, that it was painted. So this originally would have had a very dark red painted head. Red was a color that was used often by the Aztecs, and I'll show you later where that red color comes from. It's kind of cool, and where that red color comes from. But that red was painted there over 500 years ago, and it's still there. How cool is that? All right, so if you look at these rocks, those black rocks that the temple was made out of, those are volcanic rocks. So we learned from, again, from our fun fact from our classroom earlier, that there's volcanoes in Mexico. So surrounding the valley that Mexico City is in are volcanoes. And let's walk deeper into the temple. So again, each layer that we go through was a different size pyramid. Remember, if you build on top of one another. All right, so if we look back to the left, this is some of the kind of religious stories. So these temples were religious temples. And so the Aztec people had many gods, and this was one of their gods. And this was a goddess named Choyoshashki. And Choyoshashki lost a battle with another goddess. And when she was knocked down to the front of the temple, hit the ground and broke apart. Think of Humpty Dumpty had a great fall and broke into many pieces. Kind of, you can think of it kind of like that in the legend of this goddess. As we walk deeper into the temple, look how steep those steps were. These steps were very steep, and you would only go to the top of this temple if you were one of the religious priests. Or if you weren't one of the religious priests, you would not want to be on top of this temple, because the Aztecs did participate in sacrifices, both animal and human, and they would perform those on top of this temple. These are really cool. We see these all around central Mexico in public places. These are called points of reunion. So if you go on a school field trip and you lose your teacher or you lose your classroom, you would find the closest point of reunion. You would just find one of these big green spots on the ground with all the arrows pointing inward. And this is where you go to if you lose your group. And so you know where to find each other. It's kind of cool, huh? I think it's a neat idea. This is some more recent history. So this is why they found this temple. Remember, the Spanish knocked this temple down and built on top of it over 500 years ago, or 500 years ago. And so people forgot that these temples were here. And it wasn't much later, a few hundred years later, they were building a water line in here, and they dug it in and put it in, and they were like, hey, what is this weird old construction that is under all the newer buildings? And they found out that that was a temple, and so they started digging it up. So they rediscovered it. Many people forgot that these were even under the city. And as we walk into, we'll go look at the top of the original. So this was the original Great Temple. Templo Mayor is the name in Spanish. So it's the major temple, the main temple. And as we look back over the top of, this is the original pyramid. So remember, the latest version, when the Spanish got here in the early 1500s, would have been built up higher above our heads. So we'll pan across the cathedral again. You can see where we saw the chandelier. And this is the Great Temple. And this is one of the original statues on top of it. So this was a rain god. So much of the religious ceremonies of the Aztec and many early people were to try to ask for good weather. So you needed good rain to grow your crops, and they wanted rain a lot of the time. So that's one of the things they would pray for. All right, so that is the Great Temple, and we're going to go ahead and share what our other topics of our conversation today are going to be about with our virtual field trip. So we are going to talk today about food, Mexican arts, religion, and sports. So those are our main sections we're going to talk about. And today is a choose your own adventure virtual field trip. So that means you can, you get to choose what we're going to talk about first. Everyone grab your Kahoots if you're playing along with our virtual field trip today. Again, that Kahoot code is 9964699. Don't worry if you're not logged in yet. The first questions are not worth points. So we're going to start off with a very fun fact or fiction question. All right. You only get 10 seconds to answer, so be quick, guys. Fact or fiction? Baseball is the most popular sport in Mexico. Is that red fact or blue fiction? Oh, split answers. So that is, in fact, fiction. All right, so baseball is not the most popular sport. The most popular sport in Mexico today is football. And no, not American football, all you Patriots fans. It is football. So to the rest of the world, soccer is known as football. It's not called soccer. So what most of you call football is known as American football to the rest of the world. So football is the most popular sport. The national sport, however, is the rodeo. All right, so you get to choose what we're going to talk about next. So don't put down your Kahoot devices. I want to know from you. It's time to choose your own adventure. Do you want to talk about red food, blue art, yellow sports, or green religion? Okay, so we are going to talk about art. Great decision, explorers. And to talk about art, we're going to head to the Museum of Modern Art located in Mexico City. All right, so what we're looking at now is the main lobby in the Museum of Modern Arts or Popular Arts called the MAP in Mexico City. What you see, it's a very open building. That's because it used to be a fire station. That's kind of cool. So the display they have in here is kites. So they had a kite contest. And remember when we learned about landforms from our classroom in Albany? Well, that is very much related to the type of artwork that is traditionally found in Mexico. So if we look at northern Mexico, that is where most of the desert regions are located. Over here in northern Mexico and Baja, and even into the high central plains of Mexico, even where Mexico City is located. When we get to the center of Mexico, you start to see a little bit of mix between colors of forest and high deserts. When we get into southern Mexico, we find more rainforest. And what do you think has more colors in it? The rainforest, or do you think the desert has more colors in it?
Rainforest.
Right, the rainforest has more colors in it. So the artwork reflects that. So the artwork that comes from northern Mexico tends to have those desert colors, okay, whatever you can find in nature. So lots of browns, lots of yellows, lots of animal furs they use. In central Mexico, we start to get more color. And when we get to southern Mexico, the art that came out of southern Mexico was very, very colorful, very vibrant artwork that came out of the rainforest regions. Also, animals played a big part in traditional artwork. And these are masks. What's really cool when you walk through the Museum of Modern Arts in Mexico City, they separate everything by region. So we have the southern region, the central region, and the northern region. And remember, which ones look more colorful? So remember, the ones that come from the south tend to be more colorful, and the ones that come from the north are more desert colors. And they, in fact, they even use a lot more of the animal skins within their materials. Again, we see some of those, the animal pieces of the traditional artwork. And this is a newer form of art. These are called alihibres. Again, these are called alihibres. Can everyone say alihibres?
Alihibres.
All right, alihibres. Alihibres were first created by a cartoonist. So it was a cartoon drawer, and in the 1930s. And these alihibres were the fantastic creatures he saw in his dreams. So very mythical and very popular style of art today. And so here we get to see they had floats from a alihibre parade that was sponsored by the Museum of Modern Art. Here we get to see the giant unicorn / dragon. How cool is that? All right, and here's another cool alihibre, very big. You can see during the parade, they had many of them that would light up. And here's a different kind of artwork. So this is bead work. So this comes from the state of Hachul. So remember that Mexico has states. And each one of these little colors here, each and every one of these little colors is one individual bead. So what they do is they start with a solid object and they glue these beads all over that object. And it's really cool. So from far away, it looks like it's painted, but up close, they're in fact individual little beads. And this was an entire car that was covered with that Hachul beadwork, whole Volkswagen Beetle. As we'll learn later, Mexico, the religion of Mexico, the largest religion is Christianity, but specifically it's the Catholic religion, and much of their artwork reflects that Catholic religion. So these are called Judas puppets. So if you're familiar with the story of Jesus, it is the person that gave Jesus away to the Romans, gave him up, was called Judas. And so what they do before Easter is they make these Judas puppets. And if you ever want to see these black cylinder-looking things here, these are firecrackers, homemade firecrackers. So what they do is they make these Judas puppets and then they blow them up and set them on fire. And it's kind of, they do this in the streets and a lot of small towns or communities. And so it's kind of a celebration and artwork at the same time. We get to see a lot of that religion reflected in some of their artwork as well. Lots of pieces that depict the Virgin Mary, so that's the mother of Jesus. Again, as you walk through the museum, they have everything separated by the northern region on top, the southern region on the bottom, where it's more colorful. Again, some of these large alihibre floats, you can see how kind of wild and fantastic these alihibres are. These are cool. These are called trees of life. So it started off as a religious artwork with Adam and Eve and the tree of life, but today it's a very popular form of artwork that is not necessarily religious. Sometimes it is. As we zoom in here, you can see this one in particular has mermaids, animals, fruit, all kinds of just really unique artwork in this tree of life. And this one is a big one. So have you guys heard of the Day of the Dead before?
Yes.
Have you guys heard of Day of the Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so Dia de los Muertos. And Day of the Dead is a celebration. It's a holiday in Mexico. And some people get it confused with Halloween because it starts at about the same time, but it starts at midnight on August 31st. So it runs from 12 a.m. On November 1st And that first 24 hours, people believe, especially in central and southern Mexico, that it was the return, their children ancestors, their ancestors that died as children could come back and to Earth and celebrate with them on November 1st. And November 2nd, the adults could come back. And so what's really popular in the artwork of the Day of the Dead is they make a lot of these skeletons, depictions of their ancestors. And so this was probably someone's grandmother. And they usually make them so they celebrate what they did in life. So, for instance, this was probably a musician. These were maybe actors. We had two lovers that were sitting on the bench, and children. So the children come back on November 1st in the Day of the Dead celebrations. And this is a big holiday. Some families in some of the regions of Mexico will spend up to 2 months of their year salary on Day of the Dead celebrations. So a very, very important holiday in Mexico. If you watch that pre-show video, you know not only the Aztecs that were in central Mexico, but we also had the Spanish. The Spanish brought pottery from Europe as a form of artwork, but they also they had a lot of trade with the Middle East. And part of that, they brought over a lot of tile work. So a lot of the artwork that you'll see around the city today has a lot of tile work that comes out of the Middle East. Here's a building in Mexico City with that tile work. And this is in southern Mexico in Oaxaca. Remember, we said that it's another region that we're looking at today. And they have very, very unique textile work. They're famous for their textiles. And they had another group of people, not the Aztecs, but they were called the Zapotecs. And this is one of the buildings they left behind. But in their buildings, they left really unique designs, the Zapotecs did. And today, many of those designs are used in current day textile work. So we see the design that they pulled right off the building and put it into their artwork today. So if we put them side by side, you see it matches up perfectly. How cool is that? And these natural dyes, remember we talked about the paints on the head of the serpent? So we see that dark red paint. They still make that today the same way the Aztecs made it 500 years ago. So we'll look at that. I also made different colors out of flower petals and other natural materials. But what's really cool is cacti that grow around this region of Mexico. Some of them have this parasite that grows on it. So it's not the actual cactus, but it's a parasite that grows on the cactus. And when we take it out of its cocoon, this is what it looks like. And it's a dark red color. So when you just crush it up, it turns into a dark red powder. When you mix it with water, then you make that dark red paint. And that's a brief overview of some of the artwork found throughout Mexico. So we're going to go ahead. Remember, if you're watching from the outside, just a reminder to everyone, you can send in your questions early and often over to hashtag GeoShow over on Twitter, or you can use the Q&A app that should be in the top left of your screen or at the bottom of your Zoom window. You can send in questions there as well. Let's go over to Mrs. Richardson's classroom. Do you guys have a question so far about anything we've talked about?
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. Are the pyramids in Mexico different or the same as the pyramids in Egypt?
Yeah, they are different. And so many, can everyone say Mesoamerica? Okay, so Mesoamerican or Mesoamerican people, Mesoamerica, when you hear that, it's a big word, but what it means is the people of central Mexico that were here before the Spanish came. So the Spanish came in about 1520 or so to Mexico, and in the early 1500s. And before they came, the people that were in central and southern Mexico, so that's the Aztec, the Zapotec that we just saw, the Mayans, if you've ever heard the Mayans that were even further south in the rainforest, they all built pyramids. And the pyramids were a little bit different than the ones found in Egypt. The ones in Egypt have an apex, so they have a point on the top of them. Whereas the ones generally found in Mesoamerica, Central America, they have a flat top to them. So the pyramids go up, so they have 4 sides like a pyramid, but they're flat on the top. And sometimes there was a building or a room built on top of the flat top. Many of them were used for actually used for religious ceremonies, where the ones in Egypt were almost just as a tomb. The Mayans, I know, did use some of their pyramids for tombs, just like the Egyptians. But yeah, they are very similar. It's kind of cool that 2 different civilizations on the other side of the world had no contact with one another. There was no internet or anything like that. And they built pyramids. Kind of cool, huh? All right, great questions coming in. We're going to go ahead and keep things moving because the show must go on, as they say. And I want to know from everyone, what do you want to talk about next? Remember, keep those questions coming in. We have another fact or fiction question for you. All right, fact or fiction. Cinco de Mayo is Mexico's Independence Day. This just happened last week. Did you celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Is it Mexico's Independence Day? Fact or fiction? All right, so we have some say yes, some say no. This one is actually fiction. So if you've been celebrating Cinco de Mayo and you thought it was Mexico's Independence Day, let's change that for next year. So Cinco de Mayo is actually, it was a battle between Mexico and France, and it's a celebration of that battle, but it's not their Independence Day. In fact, it's not, it's become a big holiday in the U.S., but it's not Mexico's biggest holiday. It's not bigger than their Independence Day. So I don't know why it's so popular in the U.S., but it's not the Independence Day. So a lot of people get that confused. So remember that for next year when you celebrate Cinco de Mayo. All right, so what do you guys want to talk about next? Remember, don't choose art because we just talked about art. So look at your Kahoot screens again, and you get to choose your own adventure. Okay, do not choose blue. Would you like to talk about red food, yellow sports, or green religion? All right, so looks like we are going to talk about sports. Great choice, explorers. So I got to participate in 2 separate sporting events in Mexico City, and I'm going to share those experiences with you today. So the first one, again, is a football game. Football, which most of you probably call soccer. Remember, most of the world calls it football. So if you travel outside of the U.S., and you say soccer, a lot of people are not going to know what you're talking about. All right, so you can buy concessions and all sorts of things at football games in Mexico City, just like you can in any sporting event in the U.S., for example. But let's go experience it. So we're going to go to a Pumas game in Mexico City. So you'll see the Pumas is the gold team. They're the home team. You'll see lots of fans wearing their gear. And there we go. And the Pumas are sponsored by Telco. So Telco, for everyone tuning in from the U.S. today, they're a company kind of like Verizon or AT&T or Sprint. So they're a phone company. And they sponsor the Pumas, and so that's why you'll see that name Telco all over everything. Do the fans bring their own instruments in? And there's lots of choreographed chants that the fans have. And you'll see all their gear they're wearing, and you can buy concessions, and you can get your own Pumas t-shirt and everything there, and obviously you can get snacks as well. So as we see this lady walking up the aisle now, she's selling bags of popcorn, and we see this $30 for a bag of popcorn. Well, remember, explorers, that every country has their own money. So they do not use US dollars or Canadian dollars for our visitors that are with us from Canada as well, but they use pesos. So that's the form of money they use. And pesos, it depends on the day what the conversion is, but usually it's about somewhere around 17 to 20 pesos for $1 US. So that's about $1.50. And this was unique because they had lots of police there in riot gear. So if you've ever been to or seen on TV football games in other countries, when it's the most popular sport, sometimes it can get pretty wild and crazy at the games. So so they had the police there to kind of keep things under control. We also visited or got to experience a lucha libre event. So this is Mexican wrestling. And as you see here, the little cartoon character has a mask on. So you're going to see the wrestlers, most of them wear masks. At least they all start wearing masks. And one of the most famous masks is a white lucha libre mask. And this was from El Santo. So El Santo is like the most famous traditional luchador. So he's the most famous Mexican wrestler. It's kind of like the Hulk Hogan of WWE. So you'll see they have very grand entrances, just like the WWE. So what's a little different than WWE, for example, is they do have one-on-one matches, but they also have three-on-three matches. And when they have those, you don't tag each other in. You can go in the ring at any time. So it's kind of like a Royal Rumble of three-on-three. As you can see, this guy in the white shirt, he's very acrobatic. So Lucha Libre is very famous for this.
Very entertained.
And this was really, really cool. It's very special that we got to observe this. This doesn't happen often any longer. I was at this match with a local from Mexico City, and he told me that what they're doing, people are throwing money in the ring. So it's kind of like you give someone a tip for good service at a restaurant. Well, you give wrestlers a tip if they entertained you. And that goes back to the tradition of Lucha Libre, which back in the day, the wrestlers did not get paid very much. And outside of the arena, you can buy souvenirs. And obviously, most the highest sought after souvenirs are those masks of your favorite wrestlers that you would buy. All right, and those are just two of the experiences. I put some other pictures up here too. Baseball is popular in Mexico, and then the horse there for the national sport is the rodeo. So the national sport is the rodeo. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what questions we have coming in from everyone. So Mrs. Anderson's classroom wants to know, what are some fun things they do in Mexico? Or Hannah wants to know. Right, so so they do fun things just like you and I. We notice there's amusement parks. I notice movie theaters. I mean, just anything that you would do in the U.S. or Canada, wherever you're from, people do in Mexico as well. So some of the unique things. So the quinceañera. So if you're a young girl, for example, in Mexico, the Sweet 16 is not your big party. It's your 15th birthday. And so that's when traditionally 15 was coming of age, becoming a young woman. And so that's the big birthday. So it's not the Sweet 16 in Mexico. 15 is the the big age, the big birthday. Um, so let's see. Other questions coming in. Holden wants to know, why is football the popular sport? Most of the world, it I would say football is the most popular sport in the world. So sorry for that to everyone watching from the U.S. You may be surprised by that, but football is definitely the most popular sport in the world. And I think the reason for that is because really you don't need a lot to play. Think about it. All you need is just one ball. You don't need a basketball goal. You don't need a baseball diamond and bats and equipment. You don't need hockey sticks for you guys up in Canada and an ice rink. All you need is a ball, and you can play with your friends on a beach, in a vacant lot, in a parking lot, on a field, anywhere and everywhere. So I think when we look across the world at people, no matter if you have a lot of money or a little bit of money, everyone can play football. And I think that's the reason it's the most popular sport in the world. Great questions coming in. Let's go over to Mrs. Richardson's classroom. Do you guys have a question for us?
We sure do.
What are a few of the interesting animals that live in Mexico?
Right. So it's going to depend on what region we're talking about. Are we talking about a desert region? Are we talking about the rainforest? Obviously, the most unique thing probably to most of you today, because you don't have a rainforest in the U.S. or Canada, would probably be some of the animals that are typically found in the rainforest. So there are going to be lots and lots of birds, like toucans. If you guys like Toucan Sam from Fruit Loops. You also have things like jaguars. So the jaguars, the kind of like a mountain lion, but a big, powerful cat in found throughout central Mexico and southern Mexico. And those were important animals to the Aztecs, to the Mesoamerican cultures. So the jaguar was the most important animal to the Mayans, for example. Great question there. Lots of birds. In the desert, you're going to find a lot less animals as far as compared to the rainforest. But then when you get to the rainforest in southern Mexico, many of the animals are nocturnal, so they come out at nighttime. Lots of bats found in the rainforest. So lots and lots of cool and awesome, really unique kind of animals. Too many to answer here. Let's go on in. We're going to jump right into one more section really quick, and then we'll jump to our geo quiz. We're getting short on time. So, fact or fiction, most people in Mexico are Catholic. Is that fact or fiction? I kind of already gave this away. All right, so that is fact. About 81% of the people today are Catholic. It used to be higher, up around 90%. So yeah, about 81%. So very, very large. I believe they're second or third largest Catholic country in the world as far as people, the number of people. All right, choose your own adventure, explorers. Remember, do not choose art or sports. Would you like to talk about food or religion? So red or green? All right, so everyone is choosing food. Great option. So we're going to jump in and talk about some of the food that we found in central Mexico. So remember, again, very large country, and the food will be different in different regions. Just like the food found in New England of the U.S. is going to be quite different than the food found in the southern parts of the U.S. But no matter where you are in Mexico, you cannot talk about food without first talking about corn. So corn is a huge part of the cuisine in Mexico. They have about 60 different kinds of what they call heirloom corn. So this is not mass-produced corn. So about 60 different varieties of corn. As a comparison, in the U.S., for example, you probably only find about 3 kinds of corn throughout the year, 3 types of sweet corn at most, unless you go to like a small specialty store. But in Mexico, there's 60 different kinds of corn. So why is that so important? Because we have Central, the Mesoamerican people. Remember that word, guys, Mesoamerica. We have Mesoamerica to thank for corn. They were the ones that domesticated corn. So that's a big word. That just means it was once a wild plant, and they made it into a garden plant that you can plant in your gardens and raise that food. But from Mesoamerica, it spread down into Central America, it spread down into South America, up into North America, all the way up to New England. So a lot of you know about the story of the Pilgrims. So when the Pilgrims came over and Squanto taught them how to grow corn and bury dead fish to help that corn grow, well, that came from the Wampanoag people, but originally that corn came from down here in Mesoamerica. So we have them to think of. What other foods do we have to thank Mesoamerican cultures for? So avocados, chiles. Anyone here like spicy food? Well, you have Mesoamerican people to thank for that. Again, different types of heirloom corn. This is a popular one called hominy. So very big kernels of corn. And what they do is they soak it in alkaline and they make it very nutritious. And remember Tenochtitlan, so that original temple that we showed. Remember, it was an ancient lake 500 years ago around Mexico City or around Tenochtitlan. And when the Spanish came here, they called it the New Venice. That's because all around that island, the Aztecs developed a unique way of growing food. They made these floating gardens called chinapas. And chinapas had canals of water running in between them because they were floating on the lake. And because of these chinapas, they could grow food all year round if it was raining or not. So let's look at some modern food. Everyone knows the taco, right? Tacos look a little bit different than what you would find at Taco Bell. I'll argue that Taco Bell is not really Mexican food, but most tacos are corn tacos for the most part. You do find some flour ones, but traditionally most of them are corn in Mexico. Also, at least in Central America, Mexico, they're served on a double corn tortilla, so not just one, a double, and they're not hard tacos. In fact, I asked a bunch of students when I visited a classroom in Mexico City, they didn't know what a hard taco was. When they do make tortillas into hard pieces like we see to the right, but not in taco form. So this is called pozole. So this is made with that hominy corn. It's like a stew, very hearty stew. This is probably my new favorite Mexican food. Other foods, these are all foods that students brought to us when I visited a classroom there. So tamales, tacos. Over here to the right, this is a popular one. This is called mole. Mole is made with 7 different kinds of chile, and this one, in fact, is a black mole, and it's made with chocolate in it. So does anyone like chocolate in our show today? Any chocolate fans here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you have Mesoamerica to thank for chocolate, too. They are the ones that started making chocolate, and hot chocolate was a drink that was used by the Mayans. So this is kind of unique. Remember, we said a lot of Middle Eastern culture is found in Mexico City. We see that here. So this looks like lamb, but it's really marinated pork. And this looks like street food found in the Middle East. But today, these are called al pastor tacos. So what they do is they take marinated meat, they roast it on that spit, and then they put pineapple on it. How cool is that? I thought this was very weird until I tried it. This is so good, guys. If you get a chance to have al pastor tacos, very delicious. Okay, and those are just a little overview of some of the foods we found. Some of you might be interested to see how has the U.S. influenced Mexico's food or culture there. And so we found a Domino's, Chili's, Krispy Kreme. Shout out to North Carolina and Krispy Kreme. Church's Chicken. McDonald's. You can't go anywhere in the world and not find a McDonald's today. $30? Is that $30 for a hamburger?
What?
No, remember, what do they use? Not dollars, but what? Does anyone remember?
Do you remember what their money was? Remember?
pesos. Pesos. That's about $1.50 for a burger. That's a little more like it. We also found Fruit Loops, Oreos. Look at the candy aisle. So again, lots of U.S. candy. Now, to be transparent, we found a Walmart. This is candy in a Walmart. So you're gonna be very similar to what you find in the U.S. But remember, these are all prices in pesos. So when you see M&Ms for $13.50, that's in pesos, not U.S. dollars. All right. So if you have more questions, hold on to them. We're going to jump into them. I know a lot of classrooms, we're getting late. You have to run. So we're going to jump straight into our Geo quiz for today. If you have time to stick around and let me answer more questions for you, I would love to do that. But right afterwards, if you got to go, feel free to go. I don't want to take any more of your time than we have to. So first question, guys. What food was domesticated in southern Mexico? Was it red apples, blue wheat, yellow corn, or green oranges? All right, it was corn. And Mr. Woosley's 420 is winning. Which indigenous people lived in Mexico City before the Spanish arrived? Was it red, the Mayans, blue, the Aztecs, yellow, the Apaches, or green, the Zapotecs? All right, it was the Aztec people. Okay, El Luchador, awesome name right there. El Santo. What is the most popular sport in Mexico today? All right, it is football, otherwise known as soccer in the U.S. All right, El Luchador is still in the lead. Next question. What is the most practiced religion in Mexico? Is it Buddhism, Judaism, the Muslim religion, or Islam, or is it the Catholic religion of Christianity? It is the Catholic religion. All right, El Luchador still in the lead. Great job. Last question, make it count. Traditionally, where's the most colorful art found? Is it red in the northern region, blue in the central region, or yellow in the southern region? All right, and today's winner is dun, 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 Levi or Levi, however you say it. So if you are his or her teacher, make sure you send me your school address at brandon@learnaroundtheworld.com, and I'll get his or her postcard sent out from me, GOB, in the Learn Around the World studios. So congratulations to you for winning today's Geo quiz. Again, if you have time to stick around for more questions, don't go anywhere as we wrap up our recording. For everyone else, or if you're watching this show in the future, thanks for hanging out on the Geo Show. Again, today's all-free virtual field trip was brought to you by flatclass.club. Check out the Flat Class podcast, learn how to knock down your classroom walls, and bring the world into your classroom. I'm GOB. You've been watching the Geo Show, and until next time, keep exploring.
Bye.